came back to San Francisco. I'm native here. I was really into sports, and I loved just being physically active. So it was right around the time that Pride came around, and so I figured, you know what, I want to get back into the sports. So I walked around that sports alley, in the Pride area, and then someone immediately threw a rugby ball at me, kind of caught me off guard. And there was this amazing energy at this table, and that's the San Francisco ball. And one of the guys talked to me and said, this is a really amazing sport. You get to be around a whole bunch of brothers. And it's not just a sport, it's your life. It's you really just get caught up in the whole moment. And that's how I felt in that specific introduction. And that left an imprint on my life. So I went back home, checked out the website, and then that's when I learned about Mark Bingham in a lot more detail. And that's when I remembered that introduction a couple years before that. I wanted to do something more exciting, but the reason why I stayed with the blog is because of Mark Bingham, because of his life, because of his story. Because not only was he a gay rugby player, but he also gave his life in a very heroic way. It made me think that I, as a gay man, could also matter in this country, which really spoke to me. So I really left it on the pitch. I decided to get really crazy with the rugby. I lost 25 pounds. I gave it my all. Unfortunately, got injured a lot. Rugby is not the easiest sport to play. So I wanted to still help out with the blog because Mark Bingham's life meant so much to me that I wanted to leave some sort of mark that would pay the right kind of respect to the mark he's left on so many of us. And one day I decided to bring my camera, and my camera, that's the time when cameras don't have the capability to do movie clips. So I decided to do some movie clips on the San Francisco Blog Women's Night. It was our first game in the morning. And that was the first time I discovered my videography hobby. That was 5 years ago. And so that just kind of became a new world into itself. I lost myself in this videography hobby. I started making these videos for the blog. Over these 2 years, I got better and better at it. It was really exciting. And now this is the time I'm probably passed in California. And I'm probably passed. Well, here I had this videography skill. So I decided to go over to the City Hall, film the protest there. That Friday I filmed the march, and that's when I realized I have a voice. And that was probably one of the most powerful moments I had. And to this day, I have a dedicated YouTube channel, and I try to fight for as much as I can for civil rights. And the reason why I'm saying all of this is because if it wasn't for 9/11, Mark Bingham, I wouldn't be here on this article. And the way I want to honor Mark Bingham's life is through one of his emails with the San Francisco Blog. Right before he was about to move to New York City, the San Francisco Blog got accepted into what's called the National California Rugby Football Union. And when this happened, it really, really got Mark excited. So let me go ahead and read part of this. This is what he found out. Wow, what an inspiring email. This is a huge step forward for gay rugby. When I started playing rugby at the age of 16, I always thought that my interest in other guys would be anathema, completely repulsive to the guys on my team, and to the people I was knocking the shit out of the other team. I love the game, but knew I would need to keep my sexuality a secret forever. I feared total rejection. As we worked and sweated and ran and talked together this year, I finally felt accepted as a gay man. My two irreconcilable worlds came together. And I think the best way to honor Mark Bingham's life is to continue that dream and try to make the irreconcilable worlds of sports and being gay, being lesbian, being bisexual, being transgender, one and the same and all together. And I think we're getting closer because if the Giants can make a Nick That's Better video and reach out to the LGBT community and 6 other major league teams do the same as well over the last number of months, then we're getting a lot closer. But in my book, I think the biggest thing that we can do to really fight this homophobia in sports is to encourage the heck out of our current players in the NBA, NFL, MLB, and National Hockey League to come out. Thank you. But coming out is a very personal thing to do, and I get that. I respect it. But the least that we can do as a community is to stand up and come out ourselves. So we show these Major League players that if you come out, you're not alone. We're here with you. And I will do what I can to try to encourage and inspire our LGBT community and our greater American community to see that day happen and to really confront homophobia in sports and live Mark Bingham's dream.
Thank you very much, Sean. Flight 93 went down at 10:03 on a Tuesday morning. It's in a Melissa Etheridge song called Tuesday Morning. I love that song. We couldn't have this rally at 10:03. We had it at 1 o'clock. But we decided at 1:30 we would have a moment of silence to honor those people that died on Flight 93. So if you'll help me out with that. I'm not a religious man. If you are, go ahead with that. A moment of silence right now. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm not going to cry today. I said I wasn't, but I'm not going to. Our next speaker is a longtime Castro resident who works to protect the rights of tenants, increase low-cost housing, and expand services for all homeless persons, but especially the LGBT youth who wind up in San Francisco. Please welcome Tommy Avicoli Mecca.
As we remember all the people who died at 9/11 in New York, I want to take a moment to remember the other people who have died as a result of 9/11. And I know this is probably not a popular stand in America today, but I think it's really important that we remember that unfortunately our country responded to a horrible tragedy and lots of bloodshed with more bloodshed. So the other victims of 9/11. There were countless civilians in Afghanistan and Iraq who have been murdered and continue to be murdered by American bombs or by American soldiers since the invasion of their countries by the U.S. and its allies. Though they possessed no weapons of mass destruction nor any ties to the attack on the Twin Towers in New York, President George Bush and the overwhelming majority of Congress chose to unjustifiably reap revenge upon those innocent people. They're the orphaned children in Iraq and Afghanistan who now must be raised by family members or wander the streets alone. They're the single mothers left without any visible means of support. They're the countless refugees who have been forced to flee in the wake of the overwhelming chaos unleashed on their countries. They're the victims of the toxic remains of the bombs and other weapons the American and Allied forces have used against them. They're the unknown numbers of people who have been made sick by the millions of pounds of hazardous waste from U.S. military bases that has been dumped throughout their lands and which will be left behind when our troops finally go home. They're the future victims of those awful chemicals, the babies who will be born with genetic defects, and the adults who will have to live their entire lives in constant pain or with deformities. They're the U.S. and Allied soldiers who suffer all sorts of strange ailments from exposure to the same deadly chemicals and waste materials, and who will no doubt be ignored when they complain that they are sick. They're the many people who were racially profiled in this country in the hysteria following 9/11. They did nothing more than look a certain way or believe in a certain religion, yet they were made to feel as if they themselves had flown the airplanes into the Twin Peaks. They're the prisoners at Guantanamo, the gulag of our time, as Amnesty International called it, who were and still are denied their basic human rights under Geneva Conventions. No matter what you think of these people, they still deserve basic human rights. There are countless poor, homeless, and working class people in this country who have had basic human services and other safety nets cut because military defense now eats up 63% of the federal budget. And the endless wars have cost America over $1 trillion, $1 trillion and counting since 2001. These are the forgotten victims of 9/11. Their blood is the same color as the other victims, but their lives have been deemed less important. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. I lost my switch. There it is. So we have Supervisor Dave Campos. I want to say Campos, but I won't. I'm going to say Campos. I have family named Campos. I'm struggling with that.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll be very brief. I don't think that today is really about politicians giving speeches. I simply want to say that when I think about what happened in 9/11, what I think is so remarkable about the history of this country is that throughout the 200 plus history of this country, there have been people throughout that history who have been members of groups that have been discriminated against, that haven't been full participants in this society, that have repeatedly given their lives for this country. Whether that's, it's the African American who fought in so many of our wars, it's the LGBT person who fought and is still fighting for our country, whether it's the immigrant who's still fighting for a country that doesn't fully give them the rights. I feel that the best way that we can honor and recognize the memory of these individuals who have given their lives for this country is to make sure that this country lives up to its principles and lives up to the promise that it's made. I think that's the best way that we can honor, to make sure that this is a country that is truly, truly true to what it's about, which is equal opportunity, equal rights, equal justice for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much.